Hi there, and welcome to my review of Mountainhead, directed by Jesse Armstrong, who's best known for creating HBO's Succession. Here, Armstrong brings the same sharp, cynical energy to a new arena, the tech elites. The film tells the story of four billionaire tech founders who reunite amid a global crisis, one that they've each had a hand in creating. What begins as a meetup between tech bros slowly unravels into a warped discussion of power, control, and whether they should quite literally take over the world. The catalyst of this whole thing, you may ask? Well, it's a wave of global unrest fueled by advanced AI tools from the company of the group's richest member whose software makes hyper-realistic deepfakes that are very indistinguishable from reality. As the chaos spreads, the four men posture and theorize, mostly from the comfort of a luxurious compound, about their role in the crisis and what kind of solution would best suit their own legacy. Armstrong uses this absurd setup to explore the themes of tech excess, ego-driven morality, and the terrifying vacuum of accountability at the highest levels of power. The film is a blistering satire inspired by real-life Silicon Valley figures and trends, using fiction to peel back the layers of real-world dysfunction. Much like its characters, Mountainhead is not always pleasant, but it is persistent. And that's appropriate, because at its core, this film runs on one of society's most renewable resources, men high on their own supply, burning through ambition, ideology, and startup tech lingo, all while the world burns around them. As always, spoiler warning throughout this review, and if you are new here, welcome. These reviews go over the pros, cons, and main takeaways that I gather from the film, as well as my overall thoughts and opinions on the movie itself. If you have yet to see the film, please give it a watch and come back to this review once you are all caught up. With that being said, let's take a moment to discuss what worked for the film. Mountainhead leads into satire with confidence, targeting cultural, political, and societal issues with a sharp, exaggerated tone. The film doesn't shy away from pushing boundaries, its commentary is often uncomfortable and intentionally provocative. It intentionally mocks the ideologies of the elite and wealthy and presents the audience with absurd power dynamics, forcing viewers to confront the hypocrisy and the extremism through absurdity. This approach isn't just edgy for shock value, it serves a purpose in underlining how distorted systems and people can become when driven by fear, ego, or blind belief. Another pro that I wanted to mention was that the characters in Mountainheads aren't meant to be likable, and that's a strength, not necessarily a flaw, in the sense that their arrogance, delusion, and selfishness are portrayed with such conviction that you're not supposed to root for them, you're supposed to question them. The actors commit fully to their roles, delivering performances that balance satire with nuance. Their exaggerated flaws add to the film's critique of society, and the fact that they're so easy to dislike makes the satire even more effective. It takes skill to act detestable in a way that still serves the story and the message, and the cast is able to deliver with that tone. Speaking of the tone, though surreal or exaggerated, the film's tone stays consistent throughout. Whether it's the twisted logic of the characters or the stylized dialogue, everything feels part of the same world. The world of Mountainhead is strange, but its internal rules remain intact, making the satire more immersive. With that being said, there are several key points about the film that I didn't like, the cons. One of the first cons I can think of is that the film centers entirely on morally bankrupt, self-absorbed characters who show no growth or introspection. While that's clearly intentional, it eventually becomes emotionally exhausting. Watching a parade of ego spiral without redemption or humility can feel like being locked in a room with people you actively dislike for 2 hours straight. Without contrast, the relentless toxicity becomes numbing, leading to what could be described as protagonist fatigue. Even satire needs moments of relief or variation, and Mountainhead offers little. Another con is while this is clearly part of the satire, it's laid on so thick that it stops being funny and becomes alienating. What I mean by this is that it has insufferable Silicon Valley lingo, even for viewers familiar with tech culture. The overuse of corporate buzzwords might feel clever at first, but quickly becomes a barrier to emotional engagement. For some, it crosses from parody into parody fatigue. And not only are the characters unlikable, they're static. Over the course of the film, no one evolves, learns, or unravels in a meaningful way. They begin arrogant and deluded, and they end largely the same. This lack of development robs the narrative of momentum. It's one thing to present a satire full of flawed people, it's another to give the audience no sense of internal conflict or consequence. Without a character arc, their or endurance doesn't feel earned, just inevitable. And the last con that I wanted to mention was around how this film is very niche and not mainstream friendly. This film was unapologetically designed for a specific audience, those who appreciate art house sensibilities, surreal satire, and ideological discomfort. For most mainstream viewers, Mountainhead may come off as pretentious, impenetrable, or simply too weird. Its refusal to offer catharsis, clarity, or character relatability will alienate those expecting a narrative payoff or conventional structure. With some of the pros and the cons out of the way, let's go ahead and talk more about the key takeaways from this film. These characters represent the worst of modern humanity. The film's central figures aren't exaggerated by accident, they're reflections of real people in positions of immense power, especially in tech and finance. Mountainhead holds a mirror up to the Elon Musk and other Silicon Valley tie-ins of the world, highlighting how ego, wealth, and unchecked ambition can strip away accountability and self-awareness. The characters may be fictional, but their behaviors are all too familiar. The second key takeaway, the ultra-wealthy have responsibilities they refuse to acknowledge. You see, one of the most haunting aspects of Mountainhead is how casually its characters debate world-altering decisions while lives hang in the balance. The film critiques how the super rich treat real crises, climate change, misinformation, global instability as abstract problems to intellectualize, not human issues to confront. People suffer while the elite posture, think, and play savior, usually to their own benefit. The third key takeaway is that society tolerates insufferable behavior when it's attached to money and power. The film illustrates how these figures are allowed to be egotistical, delusional, and even emotionally stunted because, well, they're rich, and because they've branded themselves as visionaries. Their lack of empathy and human connection isn't hidden, it's normalized. Mountainhead doesn't just show how far they've drifted from humanity, it asks why we've allowed them to drift that far without ever pulling them back. Another key point is that the satire without catharsis can leave a lasting sting. You see, Mountainhead refuses to offer redemption, resolution, or emotional clarity, and that's the point. But it's also the challenge. By denying the audience the typical arc of downfall or justice, the film becomes more of a philosophical provocation than a narrative. It sticks with you precisely because it doesn't resolve. The discomfort that it makes you sit in is the message. Key takeaway number 5 is that the tech culture as represented in the film is not just flawed, it's performative. Mountainhead exposes how so much of tech is a theater of innovation. It's about saying the right things, avoiding any real moral engagement. It's a space where meaning is often sacrificed for momentum that doesn't feel earned, and unlike the thrills of a roller coaster, what we get instead is a slow, methodic buildup of a car crash in, well, slow motion. And the last takeaway that I took from the film was that intelligence is not the same as wisdom. The characters in Mountainhead are undoubtedly smart, but their intelligence becomes meaningless when removed from ethics, empathy, or self awareness. The film shows how brilliance, when paired with unchecked ego, becomes dangerous. These men aren't evil masterminds, they're emotionally underdeveloped people playing God with tools they barely understand. So, in the end, did I enjoy Mountainhead? Well, Mountainhead is a film I respected more than I enjoyed. It's a sharp, deliberate, and thematically rich, no doubt a mirror held up to the self aggrandizing elite of Silicon Valley, reflecting the absurdity of unchecked ego and the illusion of saviorism. Jesse Armstrong clearly had a lot to say, and he said it with precision, but that precision often came at the cost of emotional engagement, narrative momentum, and any real sense of humanity. Yes, I understand the point. These men are supposed to be unbearable. They're walking parodies of power, intelligence, and influence, insulated by wealth and oblivious to consequence. But just because I get the joke doesn't mean I enjoyed sitting through the entire routine. After a while, watching the same brand of narcissism bounce around the room starts to feel more like endurance than entertainment. Still, Mountainhead does leave you with something, a bitter reminder that the future isn't just built by visionaries, but shaped by their blind spots. And when the ones shaping the world start speaking in Silicon Tech buzzwords like diesel, chunky, P-Doom, maybe it's less a plan and, well, more of a warning.